The night Lena crossed through a glass of expensive wine in a crime boss's face, she had exactly $47 to her name and nothing left to lose. Most people would call that stupid, suicidal even. But when Adrian Voss, the man who owned half the city's underground and all of its fear, told her to grovel or die, something inside her finally snapped. Not the scared, desperate kind of snap. The dangerous kind. The kind that makes you look a monster in the eye and dare him to blink first. This is the story of how one reckless moment became a war neither of them saw coming. Stay with me until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment with your city. Let's see how far this story travels. The restaurant was the kind of place where the silverware cost more than Lena's rent. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen waterfalls, casting soft, amber light across tables draped in white linen. The air smelled of truffle oil and old money, thick enough to choke on. Every surface gleamed. Every patron wore their wealth like armor. Lena hated every polished inch of it. Her feet screamed inside the mandatory heels, black, narrow, designed by someone who'd never worked a double shift. The synthetic fabric of her uniform clung to her back, damp with sweat despite the aggressive air conditioning. She'd been moving for 11 hours straight. 11 hours of forced smiles and passive-aggressive complaints about wine temperatures. 11 hours of being invisible until someone needed something, then being too visible when she didn't move fast enough. Table 12 was the worst. Had been since they walked in. 7 men in suits that probably cost more than her car, if her car hadn't been repossessed 3 months ago. They'd ordered everything expensive, touched almost nothing, and treated her like animated furniture. One of them snapped his fingers at her. Actually snapped, like she was a dog. She bit the inside of her cheek hard enough to taste copper and brought another bottle of wine she couldn't afford to breathe near. Finally, the finger snapper said. He didn't look at her. None of them did. Christ, is everyone here incompetent? Lena's hand tightened on the bottle. She could feel her manager's eyes on her from across the room. Richard had already written her up twice this month. Once more, and she was done. No severance, no reference. Just gone. She needed this job, desperately. The kind of desperate that keeps you up at night doing math that never works out, no matter how many times you run the numbers. But God, she was tired. Is there anything else I can get you, gentlemen? The words came out smooth, professional, completely hollow. Yeah, another one said, laughing. A waitress who doesn't look like she wants to kill herself. Bad for the ambiance. The table erupted in laughter. Sharp, casual cruelty, the kind that comes easy when you've never had to worry about anything real. Lena's smile didn't waver. I'll see what I can do. She turned away before her face could betray her. 3 more hours. Just 3 more hours, and she could fall apart in her car in the parking lot like she did most nights. She'd perfected the timing, cry for exactly 12 minutes, fix her makeup, drive to her studio apartment, and lie awake wondering how everything had gotten so far off track. 28 years old, college degree she was still paying for, no family, no backup plan, just this job at this restaurant in this city that chewed people up and spit them out without noticing. The dinner rush finally started to thin around 10. Lena's section emptied except for table 12, which showed no signs of leaving. They'd moved past dinner into drinks, their voices getting louder, their laughter more aggressive. Richard kept shooting her meaningful looks, the kind that said, keep them happy without saying anything at all. She was refilling water glasses when she finally saw him, the man at the head of table 12. She'd noticed him earlier, hard not to. While the others postured and performed, he sat perfectly still. Didn't join the laughter. Barely touched his food. Just watched everything with dark eyes that seemed to catalog every detail. Adrian Voss. Lena didn't know his name yet, but she knew the type. Dangerous. The kind of dangerous that doesn't announce itself. The others at the table deferred to him in subtle ways. The angle of their bodies, the way they waited for his reactions before forming their own. He was maybe 40, though it was hard to tell. Sharp features that looked carved rather than grown. Dark hair with just enough gray at the temples to suggest authority. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than she'd made all year, but he wore it like he didn't notice it was there. No watch, no jewelry, nothing flashy, just that stillness. And those eyes. When she approached to clear his plate, the food barely touched. He looked directly at her for the first time. You hate this, he said. Not a question, a statement. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the ambient noise like a knife. Lena froze. I'm sorry? This job, this place, you hate every second of it. The other men had stopped talking. They were watching now, waiting to see how this played out. She should have laughed it off, should have given some diplomatic non-answer and moved on. That's what you did with customers, especially ones who radiated the kind of power this man did. Instead, she met his eyes. With respect, sir, what I think about my job is my business. Something flickered across his face. Not anger, interest. Fair enough. He leaned back in his chair. But you're good at hiding it. Most people here wear their misery like a badge. You've learned to bury it. That takes practice. Or damage. Both, Lena said before she could stop herself. One of the other men laughed. Adrian, leave the poor girl alone. She's just trying to work. Adrian. So that was his name. Am I bothering you? Adrian asked her, still with that unnerving calm. Yes, Lena said honestly, but I'm paid to be bothered, so it's fine. This time Adrian smiled, just barely. At least you're honest. Can't afford not to be anymore. The words came out more bitter than she intended. Will there be anything else? Actually, the finger snapper interrupted, drunk now and emboldened by it. Yeah, how about you smile like you mean it? We're paying good money here. Lena's jaw tightened. I'll do my best. No, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. He gestured expansively, sloshing wine. That fake bullshit. We can all tell you think you're better than this. Better than us. I don't think that at all, Lena said carefully. Bullshit. I can see it in your eyes. You walk around here like you're doing us a favor, like serving us is beneath you. The other men shifted uncomfortably. Even through their drunken haze, they could sense this crossing a line. Adrian said nothing, just watched. I apologize if I've given that impression, Lena said. Her voice had gone flat, mechanical, the tone she used when she was 3 seconds from breaking. If you'll excuse me. No. The drunk stood up, swaying slightly. I don't excuse you. You want to act superior? Fine. But don't expect a tip. Don't expect anything. Something inside Lena cracked. Not broke. Cracked. Like ice under pressure, the fracture spreading fast. She'd been holding it together for months. Years, maybe. Through the eviction notices and the debt collectors and the endless parade of entitled assholes who treated her like she wasn't human. Through every condescending comment and every forced smile and every night spent crying in her car. She'd held it together through all of it, but right now, in this moment, she was done. You're right, she said quietly. The drunk blinked. What? You're right. I do think I'm better than this. Lena set down her tray with deliberate care. Not better than you necessarily, though the bar there seems pretty low, but better than this place, this performance, this whole elaborate charade where we all pretend money makes you interesting. The table went silent. Excuse me? The drunk said, his face reddening. Lena's heart hammered, but her voice stayed steady. You heard me? You asked for honesty. There it is. You're boring. All of you. You sit here throwing money around like it's a personality trait, treating people like props in whatever game you're playing. And the worst part? You think you're special. You think you've earned the right to be cruel just because you can afford the privilege. Do you have any idea who we are? Another man said, standing now too. No, Lena admitted, and I don't care. That was a lie. She was starting to care very much, in the way you care about a mistake you can't take back. But she couldn't stop now. The words kept coming, pulled by gravity. You want to know what I think when I look at you? She gestured at the table. I think you're exactly like everyone else who comes here. Desperate to feel important, desperate to feel anything at all. So you buy expensive things and treat people like garbage and convince yourselves it means something. The drunk's face had gone from red to purple. You little, Enough, Adrian said. One word. Quiet. But the entire table stopped moving. He stood slowly, his movements economical and precise. When he looked at Lena, his expression was unreadable. You've said your piece, Adrian told her. Now I'll say mine. Lena's bravado flickered. Up close, she could see just how cold his eyes were. Dark and empty, like windows in an abandoned house. You think you figured us out, Adrian continued. You think we're just rich men playing games, and maybe some of them are. He gestured dismissively at his companions. But you're wrong about one thing. What's that? You do think you're better than us, and you're probably right. But that doesn't change your situation, does it? He stepped closer. You're broke. Desperate. One bad shift away from losing everything. That moral superiority you're clinging to, it doesn't pay rent. It doesn't put food on the table. It's just a story you tell yourself to feel less pathetic about your position. Each word landed like a physical blow. You hate this job because it reminds you that you failed, Adrian said. That all those dreams you had, all that potential everyone told you about, none of it mattered. You're here, serving people you despise. And tomorrow you'll be here again, and the day after that, until eventually you'll stop feeling anything at all. Lena's breath caught. He was wrong. He had to be wrong, but he wasn't. So before you judge us, Adrian finished, remember that we're sitting at this table by choice. You're standing there because you have no other option. That's the difference between us. The restaurant had gone quiet. Other diners were watching now. Richard was moving toward them. His face panicked. Lena should have apologized, should have backed down. Instead, she picked up a glass of wine from the table, expensive, red, probably older than her college degree, and threw it directly in Adrian's face. The liquid hit him square in the chest, spreading across his shirt in a dark stain. Wine dripped from his chin. A piece of cork stuck to his collar. The silence that followed was absolute. Adrian didn't move, didn't even flinch. He just stood there, wine dripping, staring at her with those empty eyes. You're right about all of it, Lena heard herself say. Her voice was shaking now, but she kept going. I am desperate. I am broke. I probably am pathetic. But at least when I look in the mirror, I see someone who's trying. What do you see? Because from here, all that power and money you have, it just makes you look even more empty. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Adrian smiled. Not a warm smile, not even an amused one. It was the smile of someone who'd just seen something unexpected and didn't quite know what to do with it yet. What's your name? He asked quietly. Lena Cross? Well, Lena Cross. He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and wiped wine from his face with casual precision. I own this restaurant, along with 3 others in the city, which means, effectively, I own you. He tucked the handkerchief away. You're fired. The words didn't hit right away. They hung in the air, abstract. Then Richard was there, stuttering apologies, promising disciplinary action. Adrian waved him off. Just get her out, Adrian said, still looking at Lena. Now. Security arrived. 2 large men who probably worked as bouncers at one of the clubs downtown. They moved to grab her arms, but Lena shook them off. I can walk myself out. Make sure she does, Adrian told them. Then to Lena. If I see you in any of my establishments again, I'll have you arrested for trespassing. Are we clear? Lena wanted to say something cutting, something devastating, but her mind had gone blank, adrenaline finally giving way to the crushing realization of what she'd just done. She'd lost her job, her only income, her last thread of stability. Over what? Pride? Principle? A moment of satisfaction that was already curdling into regret? Clear, she managed. The walk through the restaurant felt endless. Every eye followed her. Conversations stopped. Phones came out. People recording her humiliation for social media, probably. Just another viral moment of someone's life falling apart. Outside, the night air hit her like cold water. The security guards deposited her on the sidewalk without ceremony and returned inside. Lena stood there, alone, and finally let herself feel it. She'd just destroyed her life. For what? The answer came immediately, unwanted, because it felt good. For 30 seconds, standing in that restaurant throwing wine in the face of a man who represented everything wrong with the world, it felt incredible. Worth it? That remained to be seen. Her phone buzzed, a text from her roommate, Sam. Rent's due in 3 days. You good? Lena stared at the message. $47 in her checking account. No job. No prospects. No, she was not good. She typed back, yeah, all set. Another lie. She'd gotten good at those. The walk home took 40 minutes. She couldn't afford a cab, and the bus didn't run this late on weeknights. Her feet bled inside her heels by the time she reached her building. A converted warehouse in a neighborhood that had been up and coming for 5 years but never quite arrived. Sam was still awake, watching something on their ancient laptop. They looked up when Lena came in. "You look like hell." "Feel like it too." "Bad shift?" "You could say that." Sam studied her. They'd been roommates for 2 years, long enough to read each other's silences. "What happened?" Lena kicked off her heels and collapsed on the sagging couch. "I threw wine at a customer and got fired." "You what?" "He deserved it." "Lena, Jesus Christ." Sam closed the laptop. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." "Rent's due in 3 days." "I know." Lena pressed her palms against her eyes. "I'll figure something out." "How?" "The job market's brutal right now. It took you 6 months to land that waitressing gig." "I said I'll figure it out." Sam went quiet. When they spoke again, their voice was gentle. "My cousin's still hiring at the warehouse. Night shifts. It's brutal work, but no." The word came out harsher than Lena intended. "Sorry, I can't do warehouse work. I can't." "Why not? Pride?" "Maybe. Probably. What was left of it, anyway." "I'll find something else," Lena said firmly. But she didn't believe it, and from Sam's expression, neither did they. That night, Lena lay awake in her room, barely big enough for a mattress and a plastic dresser, and replayed the evening in her head. Adrian's words kept circling back. "You're standing there because you have no other option." Was that true? Had she really fallen so far that a waitressing job was her ceiling? Her phone glowed in the darkness. Against her better judgment, she typed Adrian's name into the search bar. The results loaded instantly. Adrian Voss, entrepreneur, real estate developer, owner of several restaurants, clubs, and properties throughout the city. Net worth estimated in the tens of millions. And underneath all the glossy headlines and business profiles, if you knew where to look, rumors, whispers, allegations that never quite stuck. Money laundering, connections to organized crime, violence, nothing proven, nothing concrete, just smoke. Lena kept scrolling. There were photos. Adrian at charity galas, ribbon cuttings, city council meetings, always in the background, never the center of attention, just there, watching. In one photo, maybe 5 years old, he stood next to a woman. She was beautiful in that effortless way some people were, laughing at something off camera. Adrian wasn't laughing, but he was looking at her like she was the only person in the world. The caption identified her as Elena Voss, wife. Lena searched for more recent photos. Nothing. Elena Voss had vanished from the public record about 4 years ago. Divorced, maybe? Or dead? Something about the timeline nagged at Lena, but she was too exhausted to puzzle it out. She set her phone down and stared at the water-stained ceiling. Tomorrow, she'd start job hunting. She'd call in favors from old college friends. She'd sell whatever she could. She'd make it work. She had to. Because the alternative, admitting Adrian was right, that she'd failed, that this was her ceiling, was unthinkable. But as she finally drifted into uneasy sleep, a thought surfaced unbidden. You're going to see him again. She didn't know why she thought that, didn't know where the certainty came from, but somehow she knew this wasn't over. Pachet. 3 days later, Lena was officially broke. Rent was due that afternoon. She had $63 total after scraping together loose change and selling her laptop to a pawn shop. The laptop had been worth maybe $200 new. They'd given her $40 for it. Sam had offered to cover her portion, again, but Lena couldn't accept. Wouldn't. Sam was barely making it themselves, working 2 jobs just to afford this shithole apartment. Lena had spent the last 72 hours applying for every job she could find. Retail, food service, office work. She'd sent out 47 applications and gotten 3 responses. 2 were automated rejections. The third was for a position that had already been filled. The job market wasn't just brutal, it was carnage. She sat on a bench in Morrison Park, watching people pass. Professional clothes, purpose in their steps, the kind of casual confidence that came from financial stability. Had she ever looked like that? Or had she always been scrambling, just better at hiding it? Her phone rang. Unknown number. Probably a debt collector. She'd been dodging those for weeks. Against her better judgment, she answered, "Hello?" Lena Cross. That voice. Quiet, precise, unmistakable. Every muscle in Lena's body tensed. "How did you get this number?" "I own the restaurant," Adrian said. I have access to employee files." "Former employee." "Semantics." A pause. "I have a proposition for you." "Not interested." "You haven't heard it yet." "Don't need to. Whatever you're offering, the answer is no." "Really?" Adrian's tone didn't change. "Because from what I understand, you're currently unemployed, behind on rent, and running out of options. That seems like an ideal time to at least listen to an offer." Lena's hand tightened on the phone. "Are you having me followed?" "No, I'm just not stupid." Another pause. "I'm also not your enemy, despite what you might think. You fired me. You threw wine in my face. You deserved it." To her surprise, Adrian laughed. Actually laughed. It was a strange sound, rusty, like something that didn't get used often. "Maybe I did," he admitted. "That's part of why I'm calling." "I don't understand." "Meet me for coffee. 1 hour. There's a place called Hendrix on 5th Street. You know it?" "I know it. Expensive. Very expensive." "Why?" "Because I have a job offer that might interest you. Or you can hang up and go back to your apartment with $63 to your name and no prospects. Your choice." The line went dead. Lena sat there, phone pressed to her ear, mind racing. This was a terrible idea. Obviously. Adrian Voss was dangerous, the kind of dangerous that came wrapped in expensive suits and quiet voices. Meeting him alone would be stupid at best, potentially fatal at worst. But $63. And that tone in his voice when he said your choice, like he already knew what she'd decide. 45 minutes later, Lena walked into Hendrix. The coffee shop was all exposed brick and industrial lighting, the kind of place where a latte cost $9 and came with foam art. Adrian sat in the back corner, facing the door. He'd changed since the restaurant. Dark jeans, black shirt, no tie. Somehow this made him look more dangerous, not less. He stood when she approached, old-fashioned manners that felt out of place. "You came," he said. "I'm broke and desperate. You knew I would. I hoped." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Coffee?" "I'll get my own." "No, you won't. You can't afford it." The truth of it stung. Lena sat down without responding. Adrian signaled a server. They came immediately, another small display of power, and ordered for both of them. He didn't ask what she wanted. Just ordered 2 black coffees and left it at that. When the server left, Adrian leaned back and studied her. "You're angry," he observed. "Very." "Good. Anger's useful." He paused. "What I said at the restaurant was cruel, and mostly true, but not entirely." "Which part was the lie?" "The part about you failing." Adrian's expression didn't change. "You haven't failed. You've been systematically crushed by a system designed to do exactly that. There's a difference." Lena blinked. "That's a weird thing to hear from someone who benefits from that system." "I know the system intimately, which is why I can see when someone's capable of more." "Is this the part where you offer me some degrading job and expect me to be grateful?" "No." Adrian waited while the server set down their coffees and left again. "This is the part where I offer you a dangerous job and see if you're desperate enough to take it." "How dangerous?" "Potentially fatal." Lena laughed. "Couldn't help it." "Great sales pitch." "I don't believe in deception, not about stakes." Adrian took a sip of his coffee. "Someone inside my organization is stealing from me. I don't know who, I don't know how much they've taken, but I know it's happening. So fire everyone and start fresh." "Not that simple. This person knows things, sensitive things. If I move too obviously, they'll either run or expose information that would be problematic." "You mean illegal?" Adrian met her eyes. "I mean problematic." "Why tell me this?" "Because I need someone who doesn't fit. Someone unexpected." He set down his cup with deliberate care. "You walked into that restaurant and saw through all of us in 30 seconds. That's a rare skill. Most people are too busy being intimidated to actually pay attention." "I wasn't intimidated. I was pissed off." "Even better, anger makes you honest." Adrian leaned forward slightly. "Here's my offer. Come to a business event with me. Play the role of my date, watch my people, tell me what you see. That's it? For the first evening, yes. If you prove useful, we'll discuss further arrangements. And the pay? $5,000 for the event, cash. No taxes, no paperwork. Lena's heart lurched. $5,000 would cover rent for 3 months, give her breathing room to find something stable. What's the catch? The catch is that if my people discover what you're doing, they'll likely hurt you, possibly kill you. These aren't corporate espionage types. They're— Adrian paused, choosing his words. Committed professionals. You mean criminals. I mean survivors who learn to monetize violence. He watched her carefully. If that changes your mind, walk away now. No judgment. Lena should have walked. Any rational person would have. Instead, she said, when? Saturday, 8 p.m. I'll have someone deliver appropriate clothing. I can dress myself. Not for this event, you can't. Trust me. Adrian stood. One more thing. If you agree to this, you follow my instructions exactly. No improvisation, no heroics. You watch, you listen, you report back. Nothing else. Why should I trust you? You shouldn't. Adrian pulled out his wallet and dropped $200 bills on the table. But you will, because you're desperate, and because some part of you is curious whether you're capable of more than serving wine. He walked out before she could respond. Lena sat there, staring at the money on the table. This was insane, completely insane. But her hand was already reaching for the bills. Saturday, 8 p.m. 3 days to prepare for the worst decision of her life. Or maybe, a small voice whispered, the first interesting one. The dress arrived Friday afternoon in a black box with no return address. Lena stared at it for a full minute before opening it, half expecting something ridiculous, sequins maybe, or something cut down to there. The kind of thing men like Adrian probably assumed all women wanted to wear. Instead, she found something that made her breath catch. Deep emerald silk that felt like water between her fingers. Simple lines, elegant cut. A neckline that suggested rather than displayed. The kind of dress that whispered money instead of shouting it. There were shoes too. Black heels, surprisingly reasonable height. And underneath, wrapped in tissue paper, a small velvet box. Lena opened it slowly. Earrings. Diamond studs, unless she was very wrong about what diamonds looked like. Small, understated, probably worth more than everything she owned combined. A note card lay at the bottom of the box, written in precise handwriting. These are borrowed. The dress is yours. Don't be late. A.V. Sam appeared in her doorway, eyes wide. Holy shit, is that real? Probably. Lena held up the dress. What do you think? I think you're about to do something really stupid or really smart, and I can't tell which. That makes 2 of us. Sam crossed their arms, concern evident. You don't have to do this, you know. We'll figure out rent. I can pick up extra shifts. You're already working yourself to death. Lena folded the dress carefully. Besides, it's just one evening. Watch some people. Report back. $5,000 for a few hours of work. With a crime boss. Alleged crime boss. Lena. I know. She did know. Had spent the last 3 days second-guessing herself, looking for other options, finding none. But I'm out of choices. Sam studied her. That's not why you're doing this. What do you mean? You could take the warehouse job. Could call your aunt in Phoenix, ask for help. Could do a dozen things that aren't this. Sam tilted their head. You're doing this because you're curious. Because when he said you were capable of more, some part of you believed him. The accuracy of it stung. Maybe, Lena admitted quietly. Is that stupid? Probably, but I get it. Sam sighed. Just promise me you'll be careful and keep your phone on. If anything feels wrong, you call me immediately. I promise. I mean it, Lena. The second something feels off, I'll call. I promise. But that night, lying awake again, Lena wondered if she'd recognize when something felt off. Her instincts hadn't exactly been reliable lately. After all, she'd thrown wine at a man who could have had her killed, then agreed to work for him 3 days later. Either she was brave or insane. Probably insane. Saturday evening arrived with the weight of inevitability. Lena spent an hour getting ready, hands shaking as she applied makeup. The dress fit perfectly. Adrian must have guessed her size somehow, which was both impressive and unsettling. The earrings caught the light every time she moved, sending small rainbows across the bathroom mirror. She looked different, not like herself, more like someone playing the role of the person she used to think she'd become. The car arrived at 7:30. Black sedan, tinted windows, driver in a suit who said nothing beyond confirming her name. Lena climbed into the back seat and tried not to think about how many crime movies started exactly this way. They drove for 20 minutes through increasingly expensive neighborhoods. The houses grew larger, the lawns more manicured, the walls higher. Eventually, they turned into a circular driveway where several other luxury cars were already parked. The house, mansion really, was all glass and steel, modern architecture that probably won awards. Warm light spilled from enormous windows. Through them, Lena could see people moving, champagne glasses catching light, the careful choreography of the wealthy at play. Adrian waited at the entrance. He'd gone full formal, black suit, white shirt, no tie. Simple, devastating. But it was his expression that caught her attention. He looked almost surprised when he saw her. "You clean up well," he said as she approached. "So do you, though I assume this is standard for you." "More or less." He offered his arm. Old-fashioned again, that strange courtesy. "Ready?" "No, but I'm here anyway." "Good enough." Adrian's voice dropped lower. "Remember what I said. Watch and listen. Don't engage unless absolutely necessary. These people are dangerous in ways that aren't immediately obvious." "Noted." "I'm serious, Lena. Some of them have killed people for less than looking at them wrong." "Then why bring me?" "Because you're not in their world. That makes you safe in a way none of my usual people are." He studied her face. "Also because I think you're smarter than you give yourself credit for. Desperate people often are." They walked inside together. The party hit her like a wave, perfume and expensive alcohol, and the low hum of conversation that somehow managed to sound both casual and calculated. Everything was beautiful. The furniture, the art, the people. Especially the people. Women in dresses that probably cost more than Lena's car had. Men in suits cut so perfectly they looked painted on. Everyone moving with that particular confidence money bought. The kind that said they'd never worried about rent or groceries or whether they could afford to go to the doctor. Lena felt exposed, like an imposter at a costume party where everyone else was born wearing their masks. Adrian's hand touched the small of her back, gentle but firm, guiding her forward. "Breathe," he murmured. "You belong here as much as anyone." "That's a lie and we both know it." "No, it's a choice. Act like you belong and people assume you do. First rule of survival in this world." They moved deeper into the party. People nodded at Adrian, some with genuine warmth, others with careful neutrality. He acknowledged each with minimal responses, never stopping long enough for real conversation. "You're avoiding someone," Lena observed quietly. "Several someones. We'll get to them." He grabbed 2 champagne glasses from a passing server and handed her one. "For appearances. You don't have to drink it." "I could use a drink, actually." "No, you need to stay sharp." His tone left no room for argument. "This isn't a party, Lena. It's a battlefield where the weapons are smiles and small talk." Before she could respond, a man approached. Late 50s, silver hair, expensive suit that looked somehow wrong on him, like he was trying too hard. "Adrian." The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Glad you could make it. And who's this?" "Marcus." Adrian's voice cooled noticeably. "This is Lena. Lena, Marcus Chen. He handles logistics for several of my properties." "Logistics?" Marcus laughed. "That's a generous description." He turned to Lena, his gaze traveling over her in a way that made her skin crawl. "You're new." "I'm his date," Lena said evenly. "Of course. How lovely." Marcus's attention shifted back to Adrian. "I was hoping we could talk business tonight. There are some discrepancies in the last shipment that need addressing." "Not here." "But, Adrian, not here." Adrian's hand tightened slightly on Lena's back. "We'll discuss it Monday. My office." "It really can't wait. It will have to." The tension stretched between them, silent and sharp. Marcus's smile finally cracked. Just a fraction. "Monday then," he said stiffly. "Enjoy your evening." He walked away with shoulders slightly hunched, defeated. "That's one of them," Adrian said quietly, so quiet Lena almost missed it. "Watch him. See who he talks to." "You think he's stealing from you?" "I think he's desperate, and desperate people make mistakes." Adrian guided her toward the far side of the room. "But don't stare, just notice." Lena sipped her champagne. She needed it despite Adrian's warning, and let her eyes drift casually around the room. Marcus had moved to a corner where 3 other men stood. One of them clapped him on the shoulder, concerned. Marcus shook his head, said something that made the others lean in closer. "The tall one with the gray beard," Adrian murmured. "That's David Park, security, been with me for 8 years. "You trust him?" "I used to." There was something raw in Adrian's voice for just a moment. "Now I'm not sure I trust anyone." The party flowed around them. Adrian introduced her to a dozen people whose names Lena immediately forgot, focusing instead on the spaces between words, the glances that lasted too long, the conversations that stopped when they approached. A woman in a red dress watched them from across the room. 30s, beautiful in that sharp-edged way some women were. Her gaze kept returning to Adrian with an intensity that felt personal. "Who's she?" Lena asked. Adrian followed her line of sight and something flickered across his face. "Victoria Cross. She runs my nightclub operations." "Any relation?" "To you, doubtful. It's a common name." "Is she—" Lena wasn't sure how to phrase it. "We were involved, briefly, 2 years ago." Adrian's expression had gone carefully neutral. "It ended poorly." "She doesn't look like it ended for her." "No, she doesn't." Victoria started moving toward them. Adrian's hand pressed more firmly against Lena's back, a warning. "Adrian," Victoria's voice was silk over steel. I didn't think you'd come tonight. Marcus is hosting. I couldn't miss it." "Of course not." Victoria's eyes shifted to Lena, assessing. "And you brought a date. How unlike you." "Victoria, this is Lena." "Lena, Victoria runs several of my clubs." "The successful ones," Victoria added with a smile that was all teeth. "Where did you two meet?" "Through work," Lena said, matching her tone. "Fascinating. What do you do?" "I was in hospitality. Now I'm exploring other opportunities." "Hospitality." Victoria's smile sharpened. "How delightfully vague." "I could say the same about running clubs." Something sparked in Victoria's eyes. Not anger, interest. "I like her, Adrian. She has teeth." "Everyone here has teeth," Adrian said mildly. "The question is whether they know when to bite." "And when not to," Victoria agreed. She touched Adrian's arm, the gesture intimate and deliberate. "We should talk later, about the expansion plans, unless you're too busy playing house." "Monday," Adrian said. "My office, like everyone else." Victoria's hand lingered for a moment before she withdrew. "Of course. Enjoy your evening." She walked away with measured grace, but Lena caught her glancing back once. The look in her eyes was complicated, hurt and anger, and something harder to name. "She's in love with you," Lena said quietly. "She's in love with power. I was convenient." "That's not what her face says." Adrian didn't respond. He guided Lena toward the bar, moving with purpose now. "Notice anything yet? Besides the fact that everyone here is terrified of you, or that at least half of them hate you? Both are occupational hazards. What else?" Lena thought about it, replaying the interactions in her mind. They're all performing. Even the casual conversations feel rehearsed, like they're constantly aware of being watched. Good. What else? Marcus and David are lying about something. The way they kept looking at each other when you weren't watching, they're coordinating. Adrian's expression didn't change, but she felt him tense slightly. You caught that? It wasn't subtle, not if you were paying attention. Most people don't pay attention. He handed her another glass of champagne. What about Victoria? She wants you dead or in her bed. Possibly both. This time Adrian almost smiled. Accurate assessment. But I don't think she's stealing from you. She's too obvious. If she wanted to hurt you, she'd do it directly. Also accurate. Adrian was quiet for a moment. You're good at this. I spent 5 years waiting tables. You learn to read people or you don't survive. It's more than that. He turned to face her fully. You see the truth underneath the performance. That's rare. Lena didn't know what to say to that. She'd never thought of her people reading skills as anything special, just survival instinct. A commotion near the entrance interrupted them. A man had arrived, younger, maybe early 30s, with the kind of face that belonged in movies, handsome enough to be distracting. He moved through the crowd like he owned it, shaking hands, kissing cheeks, laughing at jokes Lena couldn't hear. Adrian's entire body went rigid. Who's that? Lena asked. Daniel Cross. Lena's head snapped toward him. Cross? Like your last name? Yes. Adrian's voice had gone flat. Dangerous. He's Victoria's cousin, also my former business partner. Former? We had a disagreement about operational philosophy, among other things. The way Adrian said other things suggested violence. Serious violence. Daniel spotted them and his smile widened. He started moving their direction with deliberate intent. Should we leave? Lena asked quietly. No, that would show weakness. Adrian's hand found hers, threading their fingers together. The gesture looked casual, romantic even, but his grip was tight. Stay close. Don't engage. You're really worried about him. I'm cautious. There's a difference. Daniel reached them with that movie star smile still in place. Up close, Lena could see it didn't reach his eyes. There was something cold there. Empty. Adrian. Daniel's voice was warm, friendly, completely false. I heard you might be here. Couldn't resist seeing it for myself. Daniel, I didn't know Marcus invited you. He didn't. I invited myself. Daniel's gaze shifted to Lena. And who's this? Please tell me you haven't replaced me already. Lena, Daniel Cross. Daniel, this is Lena. Cross? Daniel's eyebrows rose. Are we related? Doubtful, Lena said. It's common. Still, what a coincidence. He studied her with unsettling intensity. Where did Adrian find you? Does it matter? Everything matters when it comes to Adrian. He doesn't do anything without 5 backup plans. Daniel turned back to Adrian. We should talk about the warehouse situation. I don't have a warehouse situation. No? Interesting, because I heard differently. Daniel's smile sharpened. Someone's been moving product without your knowledge. Large quantities. Thought you'd want to know. The space between them crackled with unspoken threats. If you have information, Adrian said carefully, share it, or stop playing games. Where's the fun in that? Daniel laughed. Besides, I'm just a concerned former partner. Hate to see your empire crumbling. My empire is fine. For now. Daniel's gaze flicked to Lena again. Be careful with this one, sweetheart. Adrian has a habit of burning through people, especially the ones who trust him. I don't trust easily, Lena said. Smart girl. Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice. But seriously, watch your back. Adrian's world has a way of consuming people. Is that a threat? Adrian's voice had gone quiet, the dangerous kind of quiet. Just friendly advice. Daniel raised his hands in mock surrender. I'll leave you 2 lovebirds alone. But Adrian, we will talk. Soon, whether you want to or not. He walked away whistling. Lena's heart was hammering. What the hell was that? A message. Adrian's jaw was tight. Daniel doesn't do subtle. If he's here, it means he knows something, or thinks he does. About who's stealing from you? About something worse. Adrian pulled her toward a quieter corner, away from the crowd. His composure had cracked slightly, revealing genuine concern underneath. We need to leave. Why? What did he mean about your empire crumbling? Nothing. He's trying to provoke me. But Adrian was scanning the room now, calculating. Marcus, David, Victoria, Daniel, all in one place. That's not coincidence. You think they're working together? I think someone arranged this. Wanted me to see them all. Wanted me off balance. His grip on her hand tightened. Which means we walked into a trap. The lights went out. Complete darkness. Sudden and absolute. The party sound shifted immediately. Surprise giving way to nervous laughter. Someone making a joke about the fuse box. But Lena felt Adrian tense beside her, pulling her close. Don't move, he breathed against her ear. Don't make a sound. Her eyes adjusted slowly. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim and red. In the half-light, she could see shapes moving, people fumbling for phones, using them as flashlights. And something else. Movement near the entrance. Deliberate, coordinated. Men in dark clothes, faces covered. "Adrian," she whispered, "I see them." His voice was absolutely calm. "When I say run, you run. Don't look back. Don't wait for me. Get to the kitchen. There's a service exit. Use it." "I'm not leaving you." "You are. That's the job." His hand pressed something into hers. Car keys. "Black sedan, third spot. Driver's armed. Tell him code 7. He'll get you safe." "What about you?" "I'll be fine. I've survived worse." One of the masked men raised his arm. Something glinted in the emergency lighting. A gun. "Run," Adrian said. "Now." He shoved her hard toward what she hoped was the kitchen. Lena stumbled, caught herself, started moving. Behind her she heard shouting, then the sharp crack of gunfire. Her training, what little she had, screamed at her to drop, to hide. But Adrian had told her to run, and something in his voice made her trust that. The kitchen was chaos, staff scrambling, someone crying. Lena pushed through, found the service exit, burst into the cool night air. The parking area was empty. No guards, no people. She ran to the third parking spot. Black sedan, just like Adrian said. The driver was slumped over the wheel. Lena's breath caught. She pulled open the door carefully, checked for a pulse. Dead. Recently. Still warm. This wasn't random. Someone had planned this carefully, eliminated the escape routes, trapped everyone inside. More gunfire from the house. Screaming now. Lena should have taken the car, should have fled. That's what Adrian told her to do. Instead, she grabbed the gun from the dead driver's holster, a Glock, heavy and cold, and started back toward the house. She'd never fired a gun in her life, but she'd also never left someone behind. The service entrance was still open. Lena slipped back inside, her heart trying to climb out of her throat. The kitchen was empty now, abandoned in the panic. She moved slowly, following the sound of voices. Male voices, calm and professional. Not panicked party guests. "Told you he'd bring someone. We weren't expecting the girl." "Doesn't matter. We have our orders." "Check the west rooms. I'll handle the study." Lena pressed herself against the wall, gun raised with both hands like she'd seen in movies. Her palms were sweating. The weapon felt wrong, alien. One of the masked men passed her hiding spot without looking. She could shoot, should shoot, but her finger wouldn't pull the trigger. The man moved on, headed deeper into the house. Lena exhaled shakily and kept moving. She had to find Adrian, had to make sure he was alive. The logic of it made no sense. She barely knew him, owed him nothing beyond a dress and a promised paycheck. But the idea of him dying because she ran felt impossible to accept. She found him in what looked like a study. He was backed against a bookshelf, blood on his shoulder, facing two masked men with guns. His hands were empty. No weapon. No chance. "Adrian Voss," one of the men said. "You've been very hard to pin down." "Who sent you?" Adrian's voice was still calm. How was he still calm? "Does it matter? You've made a lot of enemies." "Narrow it down." The man laughed. "Let's just say someone tired of your interference, someone who wants their city back." "Daniel." "Smart to the end." The man raised his gun. "Nothing personal." Lena stepped into the doorway. She'd never been good at following instructions. "Drop it," she said. Her voice shook, but the gun didn't. Both men turned. One of them laughed. "The girlfriend, how touching." "I'm not his girlfriend." Lena kept the gun trained on the one who'd been talking. "But I will shoot you if you don't step back." "Ever fired a gun before, sweetheart?" "No, which means I'll probably miss and hit something vital. 50-50 odds. Want to test them?" For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Adrian was moving, fast. He grabbed something from the shelf behind him, a heavy bookend, and smashed it into the nearest man's face. The man went down hard. The second one turned, bringing his gun around. Lena pulled the trigger. The recoil shocked her, sent her stumbling back. The noise was impossibly loud in the enclosed space. Her ears rang. She'd missed, completely missed, but the shot had distracted him long enough. Adrian tackled the man, and they went down in a tangle of limbs, brief, violent struggle. Then Adrian was standing, holding the man's gun. Stay down, he told the groaning man, or I won't miss. He turned to Lena. Blood ran down his arm, but his expression was unreadable. I told you to run. I don't follow orders well. Apparently, he moved toward her, checked her over quickly. You're not hit? No, you are. Flesh wound. I've had worse. He grabbed her arm. Now we really do run. They moved through the house, stepping over unconscious bodies. The lights had come back on. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Won't they catch us? Lena asked. The police? Half of them are on my payroll. The other half don't care. Adrian pushed through a side door she hadn't noticed. But we still need to disappear. Questions are complicated. A different car waited in a side lot. Silver, expensive, anonymous. Adrian had keys already. They drove in silence for 10 minutes before Lena finally spoke. Daniel set this up. Yes. To kill you. Yes. Because I know too much. Because he wants what I have. Pick a reason. Adrian's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. The why doesn't matter anymore. What matters? Survival, and making sure he doesn't try again. Lena looked at the gun still in her lap. She'd almost killed someone tonight. Would have, if her aim had been better. This is your world, she said quietly. This violence, this chaos. Yes. And you wanted me to watch your people, to find a traitor. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Feels like overkill now. Pretty sure we found him. Daniel's not working alone. Those men knew things, details about tonight, about my movements. Adrian glanced at her. Someone inside gave him that information. Marcus. Possibly, or David, or Victoria. He turned down a narrow street. Or all of them. What happens now? Now. Adrian pulled into an underground parking garage, killed the engine. Now we figure out who wants me dead and why, before they try again. We? He looked at her fully. You came back. You could have run, taken the car, disappeared. Instead, you came back. I'm an idiot. You're loyal. That's rarer than you think. Lena stared at him, blood on his shoulder, calm in his eyes. This man who'd fired her, insulted her, then offered her a lifeline, who'd almost died tonight because someone he trusted had betrayed him. I want 50,000, she heard herself say. Adrian blinked. What? You said 5 for one night. This turned into attempted murder. I want 50, plus expenses, plus protection. She met his eyes. And I want to know everything. No more secrets, no more tests. That's a significant increase. I got shot at, nearly killed. I'd say that's worth a raise. For the first time since the lights went out, Adrian smiled, actually smiled. Deal, he said. But this isn't a one-night job anymore. You're in until it's done. How long? However long it takes to find the traitor and deal with Daniel. He extended his hand. Yes or no, Lena? Choose now. She should have said no. Should have walked away from this madness. Instead, she shook his hand. Yes, but we do this my way. I'm not just watching anymore. I'm helping figure it out. You think you can? I already started. Those people at the party, they're all scared of something. But it's not you, it's something else. She leaned back against the seat. Someone else is pulling strings. Daniel's just the face. Adrian studied her with new respect. Keep going. Monday, your office. Everyone's coming to talk, right? Marcus, Victoria, David, they all want meetings. Lena's mind was working now, pieces falling into place. What if we let them come? What if we watch what they do when they think you're vulnerable? You want to use me as bait. I want to use you as pressure. See who breaks first. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. 50,000, he said, plus protection, plus answers. And Lena? Yeah? Don't come back for me again. Next time I might not be able to protect you. Next time don't get shot at. I'll do my best. They sat there in the darkness of the parking garage. Two people who'd just survived something neither fully understood yet. Outside, sirens still wailed. Inside, something had shifted. Lena had crossed a line tonight, couldn't go back now even if she wanted to. The question was whether she'd survive what came next. Adrian drove them to a building on the east side that Lena had never noticed before, probably because it was designed to be invisible. No signs, no markings, just gray concrete and narrow windows that revealed nothing. Safe house, he explained as they pulled into another underground garage. One of three. Nobody knows about this one except me. And now me. And now you. He killed the engine and sat there for a moment, his hand still gripping the wheel. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Blood had soaked through his shirt, dark and spreading. We should get inside. I need to deal with this. The apartment, if you could call it that, was sparse, functional. A couch, a table, a kitchen that looked unused. Everything in shades of gray and black. No personal touches. No photographs. Just a space designed for survival, not living. Adrian disappeared into what Lena assumed was a bathroom. She heard water running, a sharp intake of breath that suggested pain. She stood in the middle of the room, still holding the gun, not sure what to do with it. Her hands had stopped shaking, but her mind kept replaying the moment she'd pulled the trigger. The recoil. The miss. How close she'd come to killing someone. You can put that down, Adrian called from the other room. Safety's on the left side, slide it forward. Lena fumbled with the mechanism until she heard a click, then set the gun on the table like it might explode. Her hands felt dirty. Wrong. Adrian emerged 15 minutes later, shirtless, a bandage wrapped around his shoulder. The wound looked worse than he'd admitted, a deep graze that had torn through muscle. He'd stitched it himself, neat black thread holding torn flesh together. You need a hospital, Lena said. Hospitals ask questions. Questions lead to police reports. Police reports lead to complications. He pulled a clean black t-shirt from a drawer, winced as he put it on. I've had worse. You keep saying that. Doesn't make it less concerning. Welcome to my world. Adrian moved to the kitchen, pulled out a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. Drink? I thought you said I needed to stay sharp. That was before someone tried to kill us. Now we need to calm down before we plan our next move. He poured 2 generous measures and handed her one. You did good tonight. I missed. You showed up. That's what mattered. Adrian drank his whiskey in one swallow, poured another. Most people would have run. Should have run. Why didn't you? Run. I had nowhere to go. They'd planned this carefully. Blocked exits, killed the driver, cut the power. Professional work. He stared at his glass. Daniel's sending a message. He wants me to know he can reach me anywhere. Lena sipped her drink, the burn of alcohol grounding her. So what do? We hit back. But smart. Can't just walk into his territory guns blazing. That's what he expects. Wants me angry. Wants me reckless. Adrian set down his glass. We need information first. Need to know who's feeding him intel from inside my organization. You really think it's Marcus or David? One of them. Maybe both. He moved to the window, looking out at nothing. David's been with me longest. Saved my life once, 3 years ago. Took a bullet meant for me. People change. They do. Adrian's voice had gone distant. Elena used to say that. Said people were like buildings. You think you know the structure. Then one day you realize there were rooms you never saw. Hidden spaces. Your wife. He turned, surprise flickering across his face. You looked me up. Obviously, you think I'd agree to work for someone without at least a basic background check? Lena finished her whiskey, felt it settle warm in her stomach. What happened to her? She died. 4 years ago. How? Car accident, supposedly. Adrian's jaw tightened. Brakes failed on a mountain road. She went over the edge. They barely recovered enough to identify. You don't believe it was an accident? I don't believe in coincidences. Not in my line of work. He poured himself more whiskey. She'd been asking questions. Noticed discrepancies in the books. Small amounts at first, then larger. She was an accountant before we met. Had this gift for seeing patterns in numbers. Lena's breath caught. Someone was stealing from you even back then. Yes, and she figured it out. 2 days before she died, she told me she knew who it was, said she needed one more piece of evidence, then she'd bring me proof. His knuckles went white around the glass. She never got the chance. Did you investigate? Of course. Spent months tearing apart every record, every transaction. Found nothing. Whoever did it covered their tracks perfectly. Adrian drank again. Or I was looking at the wrong people. You think it's the same person now? The one stealing from you. I think whoever killed Elena is still in my organization. Still stealing, still playing games. He met her eyes, and I think they're working with Daniel to finish what they started. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture uglier than Lena had imagined. This wasn't just about money or territory. This was personal. Revenge dressed up as business. Why tell me this? She asked quietly. Because you're asking the right questions. Because you came back. Adrian moved closer. Because I've spent 4 years trusting no one, and it's exhausting. Sometimes you have to take a risk. I'm a risk? The biggest one I've taken in years. He studied her face. But my instincts about people are usually good. And every instinct I have says you're someone I can trust. Your instincts nearly got you killed tonight. Fair point. A ghost of a smile. But here we are. Still breathing. Lena's phone buzzed. Sam, probably worried sick. She pulled it out. 17 missed calls, 32 texts, each one more frantic than the last. I need to call my roommate, she said. Let them know I'm alive. Use the burner on the table. Your phone's probably being tracked. Tracked? By who? By anyone with enough money and motivation. Police. Daniel's people. Whoever. Adrian gestured to a phone she hadn't noticed. Basic flip phone. Prepaid. Make it quick. Don't say where you are. The conversation with Sam was tense and brief. Yes, she was okay. No, she couldn't explain everything. Yes, she'd be home soon. Maybe. The lie tasted bitter but necessary. When she hung up, Adrian was studying a laptop he'd pulled from a hidden compartment in the wall. His face was illuminated by the screen's glow, casting shadows that made him look older, haunted. Found something? Lena asked. Security footage from tonight. Marcus's system uploaded to a cloud server before the power cut. He turned the screen toward her. Watch this. The video showed the party in full swing, timestamp reading 9:47 p.m. People mingling, drinks flowing. Then Marcus pulling David aside, their heads close together in conversation. Marcus handed David something small, flash drive maybe. That's 20 minutes before the lights went out, Adrian said. Whatever's on that drive, David needed it before the attack. Could be anything. Could be. But look at David's face when he takes it. Lena leaned closer. David's expression was pure guilt, eyes darting, shoulders hunched, the body language of someone doing something wrong. He knows, she said. Whatever this is, he knows it's bad. Yes. Adrian closed the laptop. Monday's meeting just became more interesting. They spent the next hour planning. Adrian laid out the structure of his organization, who controlled what, who reported to whom, where the money flowed. It was complex, intentionally so. Layers of legitimate businesses hiding less legitimate operations. Restaurants and clubs, yes, but also real estate deals with questionable financing, construction projects that never quite finished, shipping containers that arrived at odd hours. I'm not a good person, Adrian said at one point, matter of fact. I've done things that would disgust you, hurt people, destroyed lives. I won't pretend otherwise. Why tell me that? Because you should know what you're getting into, who you're working with. He met her eyes. I'm offering you a lot of money to help me find a traitor, but that money comes from places you probably don't want to think about too hard. Lena considered this. She should have been horrified, should have walked out right then. Instead, she said, everyone's money comes from somewhere ugly if you trace it back far enough. At least you're honest about it. That's a cynical view. I spent 5 years watching rich people treat servers like furniture while pretending to be good people. Cynicism feels earned. Adrian almost smiled. Fair enough. By 3 a.m., they had a rough plan. Monday's meetings would proceed as scheduled. Marcus at 10, Victoria at 11, David at noon. Adrian would play wounded, vulnerable. Meanwhile, Lena would be watching from a hidden camera feed, looking for tells, anything that suggested guilt or coordination. What about Daniel? Lena asked. Daniel's the front man. Flashy, obvious. He wants me focused on him while someone else does the real damage. Adrian rubbed his injured shoulder. We ignore him for now. Let him think he's won. He tried to kill you. That seems like something we shouldn't ignore, which is exactly what he wants me to think. Wants me angry, wants me retaliating. Adrian shook his head. No, we stay focused on the insider. Find them, and we find the real plan. Lena wanted to argue, but she was too tired. The adrenaline had fully drained away, leaving only exhaustion. Her body felt heavy, her mind sluggish. There's a bedroom through that door, Adrian said, noticing. Get some sleep. We've got a long few days ahead. What about you? I don't sleep much anymore. He moved back to the window. Haven't since Elena died. 3-4 hours a night if I'm lucky. Adrian, I'm fine. Go. She wanted to say something comforting, something that acknowledged the pain he was clearly carrying, but words felt inadequate. So she just nodded and headed for the bedroom. The room was as sparse as the rest of the apartment. Single bed, gray sheets, blackout curtains. But it was clean and quiet, and right now that was enough. Lena lay down fully clothed and closed her eyes. Sleep came fast and dreamless, the kind of exhaustion-driven unconsciousness that felt more like shutdown than rest. She woke to sunlight bleeding around the curtains and the smell of coffee. Her body ached in places she hadn't known could ache. The events of the previous night felt distant, unreal, like something she'd watched in a movie rather than lived through. But the gun on the nightstand was real enough. So was the blood on her dress. Her beautiful borrowed dress, now ruined. Adrian was in the kitchen, already dressed in clean clothes, a mug in his hand. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. Morning, he said. Coffee's fresh. What time is it? Almost noon. You were out for 8 hours. Lena sat up slowly, her head pounding. You should have woken me. You needed rest. Nothing's happening until tomorrow anyway. He poured her a mug and handed it over. There are clean clothes in the closet. Might be a bit big, but better than the dress. She found jeans and a t-shirt that did indeed hang loose but were clean. The shower was hot and powerful, and she stood under it for 20 minutes, washing away dried sweat and fear. When she emerged, she felt almost human again. Adrian was on the phone, speaking quietly in what sounded like Mandarin. He switched languages mid-conversation, Korean, then something else she didn't recognize, his tone never changing. When he noticed her, he wrapped up quickly. Sorry, damage control. He set the phone down. Half the city's talking about last night. Marcus's house getting shot up, bodies, police everywhere. People are asking questions. What are you telling them? That I left early. That I wasn't there when it happened. That I'm as shocked as everyone else. Adrian's smile was cold. The beauty of being careful is that there's no footage of me inside when the shooting started. Far as the official story goes, I was already gone. What about me? You were never there. No guest list, no security footage, nothing. You're a ghost. He gestured to the table where an envelope sat. There's $10,000 in there. Call it a down payment on the 50. Also a new phone, encrypted, untraceable. Use it for everything from now on. Lena picked up the envelope, felt the weight of it. More money than she'd held at once in years. This is real, she said softly. This is actually happening. Yes, you can still walk away if you want. Keep the money, disappear. I won't stop you. She should have taken the offer, should have grabbed the cash and run as far as it would take her. Instead, she said, Tell me more about Elena. Adrian's expression shuddered. Why? Because whoever killed her is behind all this. Because understanding her helps me understand what we're up against. Lena sat down across from him. You said she noticed patterns. What kind of patterns? He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful, controlled. Small discrepancies at first. A restaurant reporting slightly less revenue than expected. A construction project going over budget in odd ways. Nothing dramatic, just off. Adrian traced the rim of his mug. She started digging deeper. Found that certain shipments were being recorded twice. Once in the official books, once in a shadow set. Same product, 2 different prices. Money laundering. Sophisticated money laundering. Whoever set it up knew exactly what they were doing. They were using my legitimate businesses to clean money from other sources. His jaw tightened. Making me complicit without my knowledge. That's not just theft. That's framing. Exactly. If it ever came to light, I'd take the fall. My businesses, my signature on the documents. Meanwhile, someone else was profiting. Adrian looked at her. Elena figured out the structure, but she never found out who was running it. How much money are we talking about? Over 4 years? Millions. Maybe tens of millions. Hard to say without knowing the full scope. Lena's mind raced. This wasn't some disgruntled employee stealing from petty cash. This was organized, long-term, sophisticated, the kind of operation that required inside knowledge and outside resources. Daniel doesn't have the patience for this, she said slowly. This is too careful, too methodical. I know. So who? Marcus seems too obvious. Victoria's smart, but this feels bigger than her usual scope. Lena paused. David? I've considered it. He's been with me long enough, knows the businesses inside and out. Adrian's hands tightened around his mug. But he took a bullet for me. Why would someone willing to die for me then spend years stealing? Maybe the bullet changed him, made him feel entitled, like you owed him something. Maybe. Adrian didn't sound convinced. They sat in silence for a while, drinking coffee, each lost in their own thoughts. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious to the small war being planned in this gray apartment. Finally, Adrian spoke. There's something else. Something I haven't told anyone. What? The day Elena died, she left me a voicemail. I was in a meeting, didn't see her call until after. He pulled out his phone, his real one, not a burner, and scrolled through it. I've listened to it maybe 1,000 times. Always sounds the same. He hit play. Elena's voice filled the room, warm and slightly breathless. Adrian, hi. I know you're busy, but I really need to talk to you. I found something big. It's not who we thought. It's someone else entirely. Someone close. I don't want to say more over the phone, but we need to talk tonight. I love you. Be careful. The message ended. Adrian sat there staring at the phone like it might suddenly offer more. Someone close, Lena repeated. Not Marcus or David or Victoria. Someone else. Someone I trusted enough that Elena felt comfortable around them. Someone with access to everything. A horrible thought occurred to Lena. What if it's not one of your people? What if it's someone from your personal life? Adrian looked up sharply. What do you mean? You said Elena felt safe around them. That suggests someone social, not just business. A friend maybe, or family. I don't have family, not anymore. Then a close friend. Someone who's been around for years, someone you'd never suspect. Adrian's face had gone pale. No, it couldn't be. Who? Thomas Reed, my attorney. Oldest friend I have. We grew up together, went through everything together. He stood abruptly, pacing. He was at my wedding, helped me build half my businesses. Elena loved him like a brother. When did he come into the picture, business-wise? Adrian thought about it. About 6 years ago. He started handling more of the legal work, incorporating new entities, setting up offshore accounts. His voice dropped. Setting up the structure that someone's been using to launder money. Adrian, no, it can't be Thomas. He's the one person I thought I could trust completely. But Lena could see the doubt creeping in, the terrible realization. Where is he now? She asked quietly. His office, probably. Downtown. Why? Because we need to check. Need to see if there's any connection between him and Daniel or any of the others. Lena grabbed the new phone. Does he know about these safe houses? Adrian's face went even paler. Yes, all of them. He helped me acquire them through shell companies. Then we need to leave. Now. As if on cue, Lena's new phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Get out. They're coming. You have maybe 5 minutes. V. Victoria. Move, Adrian said, already grabbing the laptop and a go bag from under the couch. Fire stairs. We take separate cars. Why separate? Because if they catch one of us, the other can still finish this. He pressed keys into her hand. Silver Honda, level B3. Head to Riverside Marina, slip 47. There's a boat? Hide there until you hear from me. What about you? I'll lead them away. Buy you time. Adrian, no. This isn't a debate, Lena. You're no good to me dead. His eyes were hard now, all business. You want it in? This is in. Sometimes that means splitting up. Sometimes that means being bait. They heard the elevator ding in the distance. Voices. Heavy footsteps. Go, Adrian said. Now. Lena grabbed the go bag and ran. The fire stairs were concrete and cold, her footsteps echoing. She took them two at a time, her heart hammering. Behind her, she heard doors crashing open, shouting, a gunshot. She forced herself not to look back. Level B3. Silver Honda. The key fob chirped when she pressed it, lights flashing on a car 3 spots away. She threw the bag in the passenger seat and started the engine. More gunshots above, closer now. Lena reversed out hard, tires squealing. The parking garage exit was on the far side. She had to drive past the elevators to get there. As she approached, the elevator doors opened. 3 men in dark clothes, guns drawn. Lena floored it. The Honda surged forward. The men scattered, one of them getting off a shot that spiderwebbed the rear windshield. Then she was up the ramp and out into daylight, merging into traffic with shaking hands. Her phone buzzed. Adrian, keep going. Don't stop. I'm alive. Relief flooded through her, sharp and surprising. She barely knew this man. Shouldn't care this much whether he lived or died. But she did. The marina was 40 minutes away through midday traffic that felt designed to torture her. Every cop car made her flinch. Every dark sedan looked suspicious. By the time she pulled into the marina parking lot, her hands were cramping from gripping the wheel. Slip 47 held a boat that was nicer than any apartment she'd ever lived in. White hull, tinted windows, name painted on the side. Second chance. The key Adrian had given her opened the cabin. Inside was luxury, leather seats, polished wood, a bed bigger than hers at home. And weapons. A lot of weapons. Rifles, handguns, boxes of ammunition, a laptop, cash in a waterproof case. This wasn't just a boat. It was an escape plan. Lena collapsed onto the leather seat and finally let herself feel the fear she'd been suppressing. They'd found the safe house. Would have found her if Victoria hadn't warned them. Victoria, who supposedly hated Adrian, who wanted him dead or in her bed. Why would she help? The phone buzzed again. Not Adrian this time, an unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? Don't trust him. Victoria's voice tight with urgency. Adrian's lying to you about something. I don't know what, but I know him. He always has an angle. Why are you helping me? Because you seem genuine, and genuine people don't last long in Adrian's world. Victoria paused. Also because whoever's trying to kill him might come after you next. You were seen together. That makes you a target. Who's behind this? I don't know. I swear I don't. But it's bigger than Daniel, bigger than Marcus or David. She lowered her voice. Be careful, Lena. The money he's offering isn't worth your life. The line went dead. Lena sat there, phone in hand, mind spinning. Everyone was lying about something. Adrian about who he suspected. Victoria about her motivations. Maybe even Elena's voicemail was misdirection, planted evidence. She didn't know who to trust, which meant she could only trust herself. The sun was setting when Adrian finally arrived, moving carefully, checking his surroundings before boarding. He had new blood on him, not his own, from the looks of it. You're okay, he said when he saw her. Statement, not question. For now, you? Lost them in Chinatown, doubled back 3 times to be sure. He sat down heavily, exhaustion evident. The safe house is burned. They'll find the others soon enough. Victoria called. Adrian's head snapped up. What did she say? That you're lying to me, that you have an angle. Lena watched his face carefully. Are you? Everyone has an angle, Lena. That's how survival works. But he didn't deny it. What's yours? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different, tired, honest. I'm dying, he said simply. Cancer, liver. 6 months, maybe a year if I'm lucky. The words hung in the air like smoke. The doctors found it 3 months ago. Inoperable, untreatable. I've got time, but not much. He looked at her. So yes, I have an angle. I want to find who killed Elena before I die. Want to know the truth. Want to make them pay. And I'm willing to use whoever I need to make that happen. Including me. Including you. No apology, no justification, just honesty. But the money's real. The protection's real. And when this is over, assuming we survive, you walk away with enough to never worry about rent again. Lena processed this. A dying man with nothing to lose. That made him either the most dangerous person she could work with or the most motivated. Maybe both. Why tell me now? She asked. Because you asked. Because you deserve to know what you're really part of. Adrian leaned back. And because tomorrow when we face Marcus and David and Victoria, I need you to know that I won't stop. Can't stop. This is my last chance to get answers. And if it kills us both, then at least we die knowing we tried. It was the worst plan Lena had ever heard. Suicidal, reckless, exactly the kind of thing someone with nothing left to lose would propose. She should have walked away right then, taken the $10,000 and disappeared. Instead, she said, "Okay, tomorrow. We do this your way. You're sure?" "No, but I'm in anyway." Adrian smiled, sad and genuine. "Thank you." They spent the night on the boat, taking turns sleeping. When dawn broke over the water, painting everything gold and red, they were already preparing. Monday had arrived. Time to find out who wanted Adrian Voss dead and why. Adrian's office occupied the top floor of a building he technically didn't own, but controlled through a web of shell companies. Glass walls, expensive art that probably came from questionable sources, furniture that cost more than most people's cars. The view stretched across the entire city, a constant reminder of how much territory he held. Lena waited in an adjacent room, watching through a camera feed on the laptop. Adrian had positioned it carefully, hidden in a decorative clock on the shelf. Perfect angle to catch facial expressions, body language, the small tells people couldn't control when they were lying. "Test," Adrian said, adjusting his cufflinks. "I can see and hear everything," Lena confirmed through the earpiece he wore, tiny and flesh-colored. "You look appropriately intimidating." "Just appropriately? Don't push it. You're still bleeding through your shirt." He glanced down at the faint stain seeping through the bandage. "Adds authenticity. Makes me look vulnerable." "You are vulnerable. You got shot 2 days ago." "Details." But he pressed his hand against the wound, wincing. "Marcus is due in 5 minutes. Remember, watch his hands. He touches his left ear when he's about to lie." "How do you know that?" "Because I've been watching him for 8 years. You learn people's patterns when your life depends on it." The intercom buzzed. Adrian's assistant, a woman named Claire who looked like she could kill someone with a pencil, announced Marcus's arrival. "Show him in," Adrian said, then quieter. "Here we go." Lena watched as Marcus entered, his expensive suit doing nothing to hide the nervousness in his walk. He'd always seemed confident at the restaurant, commanding even. But here, in Adrian's territory, he looked like what he was, a man who knew he'd been caught doing something wrong, but didn't know how much Adrian knew. "Marcus." Adrian didn't stand. A power move. "Sit." "Adrian, I'm so glad you're all right. When I heard about the attack..." Interesting phrasing. "The attack, not my attack. As if it happened to someone else." Marcus sat slowly. His left hand drifted toward his ear, stopped halfway. "I don't understand." "No? Because someone arranged that attack. Knew exactly when I'd be at your house, exactly where to position shooters, exactly how to cut the power." Adrian leaned back, his voice dangerously calm. "That kind of coordination requires inside information." "You think I..." Marcus's hand touched his ear. There it was. "Adrian, I would never. You know me." "I thought I did. Now I'm not sure." Adrian pulled out a tablet, turned it toward Marcus. "This is security footage from your party, 20 minutes before the attack. You're handing David something. Want to explain what that was?" Marcus's face went pale. That was just documents. Property contracts for the new development." "At a party, 20 minutes before an assassination attempt. You couldn't wait until a normal business meeting?" "It was convenient. He was there. I was there. Try again." Adrian's voice could have frozen water. "And this time, don't insult my intelligence." Lena watched Marcus's body language shift, the defensive hunch of his shoulders, the way his eyes darted to the door, calculating escape routes. He was trapped, and knew it. "All right," Marcus's voice dropped. "It was financial records, discrepancies I'd found in some of the accounts." What kind of discrepancies? Money moving in ways it shouldn't, shell companies I didn't recognize, transactions that didn't match up with official reports. Marcus leaned forward. I gave them to David because I didn't know who else to trust. Thought maybe he could investigate quietly. Why not come to me directly? Because... Marcus hesitated. Because I wasn't sure if you were involved. The room went very quiet. You thought I was stealing from myself, Adrian said flatly. I didn't know what to think. The amounts were significant. Someone with high-level access was moving money around. Marcus met his eyes. Can you honestly tell me you know everything that happens in your organization? Adrian didn't answer. Couldn't, probably, because Marcus had a point. Who did you think was behind it? Adrian asked finally. I don't know. I swear I don't. That's why I gave the records to David. Figured if anyone could investigate without raising alarms, it would be him. Marcus's hand was on his ear again. But then the attack happened, and I thought maybe someone found out I was looking. Or maybe you arranged the attack to cover your tracks. No, Adrian, no. I've been loyal to you for years. Why would I... Money, fear, coercion, take your pick. Adrian stood slowly, his injured shoulder making him move carefully. Daniel Cross. How well do you know him? The question clearly caught Marcus off guard. Daniel? Barely. Met him a few times at business functions. Why? He was at your party. Who invited him? I don't know. The guest list was managed by my assistant. Could have been anyone. Adrian circled the desk, moving like a predator. You see my problem, Marcus? Every answer you give raises more questions. Every explanation feels convenient. I'm telling you the truth. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you either orchestrated an attack on me, or you're so incompetent you let someone use your party as a staging ground. Adrian stopped directly in front of him. Either way, that's a problem. Marcus stood abruptly. I came here in good faith, trying to help. If you're going to accuse me without evidence, sit down. I don't take orders. Sit down. Adrian's voice carried weight beyond volume, the kind of authority that came from years of making people afraid. Marcus sat. Through the camera, Lena could see the exact moment he broke. The slump of his shoulders, the resignation in his eyes. There's something else, Marcus said quietly. Something I didn't tell David. I'm listening. 3 months ago, I was approached. A man I'd never met. He knew things, personal things, about my daughter, her school, her route home. Marcus's voice shook. He said I could either help him or watch her get hurt. Adrian's expression didn't change, but Lena saw his hand tighten into a fist. What did he want? Information. Nothing classified, he said. Just awareness. When you'd be certain places. When shipments would arrive. Small things. Small things that could get me killed. I didn't know that's what he wanted them for. I swear I didn't. Marcus looked up, and there were actual tears in his eyes. I have a daughter, Adrian. She's 14. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to come to me. I could have protected her. Could you? This man knew everything. Knew about your security, your people, your routines. He knew things only someone very close to you would know. Marcus wiped his eyes roughly. I was terrified. Still am. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. This man. Describe him. 50s maybe, gray hair, expensive suits, but not flashy, spoke very precisely. Had this way of looking at you like he could see right through you. Lena felt something click in her mind. That description sounded familiar. Did he give you a name? Adrian asked. No, just a number to call when I had information. Burner phone. I tried tracing it, but it led nowhere. Do you still have the number? Marcus pulled out his phone with shaking hands, showed Adrian the screen. Adrian memorized it, then nodded. You can go, he said. What? Leave. Now, before I change my mind. Adrian moved back to his desk. But Marcus, if I find out you're lying about any of this, your daughter won't be enough to save you. Understood? Understood. Marcus stood quickly, nearly stumbling over his own feet in his haste to leave. When the door closed, Adrian slumped into his chair and pressed a hand to his shoulder. Fresh blood had soaked through the bandage. You believe him? Lena asked through the earpiece. About being threatened? Yes. About not knowing what the information was for? Adrian's voice was tight with pain. I want to, but I can't afford to trust anyone right now. That description, the man with gray hair, that could be… Thomas, I know. Adrian closed his eyes. Victoria's here early. You catch any of that? All of it. Lena switched camera angles. Victoria was indeed in the waiting room, pacing like a caged animal. She wore all black, power suit, heels that could be weapons, hair pulled back severe and perfect. She looked stressed. Good. Stress makes people honest. Victoria didn't wait to be announced. She pushed past Claire and entered Adrian's office like she owned it. We need to talk, she said without preamble. Now. I have a schedule, Victoria. Your schedule can wait. This can't. She noticed the blood on his shirt and her expression shifted, concern breaking through the anger. You're hurt. Observant as always. Don't be a smartass. You need medical attention. I need answers more. Adrian gestured to the chair. Sit. Tell me why you warned Lena. Victoria's eyes narrowed. So she told you. Of course she did. We're working together. Working together, or is she your newest toy? You always did have a type. Victoria. Brunette. Stubborn. Just smart enough to be interesting, but not smart enough to see what you really are. Victoria crossed her arms. How long before you get bored and throw her away like you did me? I never threw you away. We ended things mutually. That's not how I remember it. Adrian sighed. We're not doing this. Not now. Just tell me why you helped. Victoria was quiet for a moment, her anger cooling into something more complicated. Because I know you didn't arrange that attack. You're many things, Adrian, but you're not suicidal, which means someone's trying to kill you. She sat down. And whoever it is, they're good. Better than Daniel. You think Daniel's being used. I know he is. Daniel's ambitious, but he's not smart enough to organize something this sophisticated. He's a front. Probably doesn't even realize it. Then who's behind him? That's what I've been trying to figure out. Victoria pulled out her phone, scrolled through something. I started looking into the financial records after Elena died. Not officially. I didn't want to tip anyone off, but I found patterns. Adrian sat forward despite the pain. What kind of patterns? Money moving through your clubs, large amounts. Being cleaned through drink sales, event tickets, VIP table fees, except the numbers don't match the actual traffic. She turned her phone toward him. Someone's using your clubs to launder money. Has been for years. Elena found the same thing. She was going to tell me who. I know. We talked the day before she died. Victoria's voice softened. She asked me to keep records. Said if anything happened to her, someone needed to have evidence. You've had evidence this whole time and didn't tell me? I've had pieces, not enough to prove anything. And I didn't know who to trust. For all I knew, you were in on it. She met his eyes. Are you? No. Swear it. On Elena's memory. I swear. On Elena's memory. Adrian's voice was raw. I loved her. Would never have done anything to hurt her. Victoria studied his face for a long moment, then nodded. I believe you. Which means someone in your inner circle is doing this without your knowledge. Someone close enough to manipulate the books, to move money, to cover their tracks. Thomas Reed. Victoria blinked. Your attorney? Marcus described a man who matches his description. Gray hair, 50s, precise manner. And Thomas set up the offshore accounts, the shell companies. He'd have access to everything. Thomas has been your friend for 30 years. So was Brutus. Adrian stood slowly. Where's he now? His office, probably. Why? Because I'm going to ask him some very pointed questions. Adrian, wait. No, I've waited 4 years for answers. I'm not waiting anymore. He looked at the clock on his desk, the one hiding the camera. Lena, meet me at the car. We're going to see Thomas. Victoria's head snapped toward the clock. She's been listening this whole time. Every word. You manipulative son of a… Save it. Adrian moved toward the door. You can come with us or you can stay here. Your choice. Victoria grabbed her purse. I'm coming. Someone needs to keep you from doing something stupid. Too late for that. I hired Lena. Despite everything, Victoria almost smiled. Lena met them at the underground parking garage. David was there too, which was unexpected. He stood next to a black SUV, arms crossed, looking grim. "David," Adrian said carefully, "what are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing. You're supposed to be resting." David's gaze shifted to the blood on Adrian's shirt. "That needs attention." "Later. Right now, I need to talk to Thomas." "About what?" "About why he's been stealing from me for 4 years. About why he killed my wife." Adrian's voice was ice. "Step aside, David." "I can't let you do this." "Excuse me?" David pulled out a gun, not pointing it at anyone, just holding it, available. "Thomas called me this morning, said you might come looking for him. Said you'd be confused, aggressive, dangerous." "Thomas called you," Adrian repeated slowly, "and you believed him over me. He said you've been unstable since Elena died, that the cancer's affecting your judgment, that you might hurt people." David's hand tightened on the gun. "Is that true? Are you sick?" "Who I am and what I'm dealing with is none of your business." "It is when you're about to go shoot our attorney." David's voice was gentle but firm. "Adrian, you're not thinking clearly. Let me help you. We can figure this out together." Lena watched the scene unfold with growing dread. David wasn't acting like a traitor. He was acting like someone genuinely worried about a friend, which made him either the best liar she'd ever seen or completely innocent. "David," Adrian said quietly, "how much did Thomas pay you?" "What? He didn't pay me anything." "Then why are you protecting him?" "I'm protecting you from yourself." David took a step forward. "You've been spiraling for months, taking risks you never would have taken before, trusting strangers." His eyes flicked to Lena. "Bringing civilians into dangerous situations. That's not the Adrian I know. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think. Maybe. Or maybe you don't know yourself anymore." David lowered the gun slightly. "Come back upstairs. Rest. Let me investigate Thomas properly. If he's guilty, we'll handle it legally." "Legally?" Adrian laughed, but there was no humor in it. "David, we don't do anything legally. That's not how this world works." "It could be. You could change. Walk away from all this before it kills you." David's voice cracked. "Please, Adrian, you're my friend. Let me help." For a moment, Adrian seemed to waver. Then his expression hardened. "Get out of my way. I can't do that. Then shoot me, because I'm not stopping." David raised the gun, properly this time, pointed it at Adrian's chest. His hand was shaking. "Don't make me do this," David said. Victoria moved fast. She'd pulled her own gun. When had she gotten that? And now it was pointed at David's head. "Lower it," she said calmly. "Right now." "Victoria, stay out of this. Lower your weapon, or I'll make your wife a widow." David's face went pale. The gun lowered slightly. "Thank you," Victoria said. "Now, we're all going to have a rational conversation. Adrian, tell David what you found." Adrian explained quickly. Marcus's confession, the description matching Thomas, the financial records, Elena's voicemail. With each revelation, David's expression grew more troubled. "That doesn't make sense," David said when Adrian finished. "Thomas has been nothing but loyal." "Has he? Or have we just been blind?" Adrian pressed. "Think about it. Who recommended the shell companies? Who set up the offshore accounts? Who had Elena's complete trust? If Thomas wanted you dead, you'd be dead. He's had 1,000 opportunities over the years. Unless he needed me alive, needed my businesses running smoothly so he could keep stealing." Adrian stepped closer. "The flash drive Marcus gave you. What was on it?" David hesitated. "Financial records, same as what Marcus told you. I was investigating quietly, trying to figure out who was responsible." And every trail led back to shell companies registered through Thomas's firm." David's voice dropped. "But I thought it was someone using his firm without his knowledge. Identity theft, maybe. Forged documents. Or maybe he's just better at covering his tracks than we gave him credit for." Adrian held out his hand. "The flash drive. Give it to me." "I don't have it anymore. I gave it to Thomas yesterday. Asked him to investigate his own firm's security." The silence that followed was absolute. "You gave the evidence to the person we're investigating," Victoria said slowly. "David, please tell me you're joking." "He's our attorney. He has resources we don't—" "He's the suspect." Victoria's gun hand trembled with fury. How can you be this stupid? I didn't know. Nobody told me we were investigating Thomas. David looked at Adrian desperately. If I'd known, I never would have. It doesn't matter now. Adrian was already moving toward the SUV. He knows we're on to him. He'll run or he'll fight back. Either way, we need to find him before he disappears. They piled into the SUV, Adrian driving despite his injury, Victoria in passenger, Lena and David in back. The tension was thick enough to cut. Thomas's office is downtown, David said, pulling up an address on his phone. But he also has a private residence in the hills, family estate. If he's running, that's where he'd go first. The estate, Adrian decided. That's where he'd keep anything important. Documents, money, evidence. They drove in tense silence. Lena watched the city blur past, her mind racing. Everything was happening too fast. This morning they had suspects, now they had a target, but something felt off about it. Too neat. Too convenient. Adrian, she said quietly, what if this is another trap? Then we'll deal with it. That's not a plan. It's the only plan we have. He glanced at her in the rear-view mirror. You can still walk away, Lena. This isn't your fight. Yeah, well, I'm in too deep now. She checked the gun Adrian had given her. Fully loaded, safety off. Besides, someone needs to keep you from dying before you finish this. Victoria laughed despite herself. I like her, Adrian. She's got backbone. She's insane. We're all insane. But there was something like affection in Adrian's voice. The Reed family estate sat on 20 acres of pristine land, all old money and careful cultivation. The main house was colonial style, white columns and brick, the kind of place that whispered respectability and tradition. Cars lined the circular driveway, too many cars for a Monday afternoon. That's not good, David muttered. No. Adrian parked at a distance behind a hedge that provided cover. That's very not good. They approached on foot, using the trees for concealment. As they got closer, Lena could see people moving inside the house. A lot of people. And none of them looked like household staff. Is that Daniel Cross? Victoria whispered. It was. Through the large windows, they could see Daniel in the study, talking with animated gestures. And next to him, calm and composed, sat Thomas Reed. They're working together, Adrian said flatly. Thomas and Daniel. But why? David asked. What could Daniel possibly offer Thomas? Deniability? A scapegoat? Someone to take the fall when everything comes crashing down. Adrian's jaw was tight. Thomas has been building to this for years. He just needed someone stupid enough to be the face of the operation. We need backup, Victoria said. We can't take on this many people alone. No backup. Everyone we call could be compromised. Adrian checked his gun. We go in quiet. Find evidence. Get out. That's a terrible plan. You have a better one? Before Victoria could answer, the front door opened. Thomas Reed stepped out, phone to his ear. He looked exactly as Marcus had described. Distinguished, precise, completely in control. He was also looking directly at their hiding spot. Adrian, Kit, he called out calmly. I know you're there. Come out. Let's talk like civilized people. It's a trap, David hissed. Obviously. Adrian stood slowly, hands visible. Stay here. Cover me. Adrian, don't... But he was already walking toward the house, moving like a man with nothing left to lose. Because he was. Lena's heart hammered as she watched him approach Thomas. The two men faced each other on the pristine lawn, separated by 20 feet and 30 years of friendship. You killed her, Adrian said. Not a question. I did what was necessary. Thomas's voice carried no regret. Elena was going to ruin everything. Years of careful planning destroyed because she couldn't mind her own business. She was your friend. She was an obstacle. There's a difference. Thomas gestured toward the house. Come inside. There are things you should know before this ends. Before what ends? Before I kill you, obviously. Thomas said it like he was discussing the weather. But I owe you an explanation first, for old time's sake. Adrian could have shot him right there. Should have. But Lena could see the hesitation, the need to understand why his oldest friend had betrayed him. All right, Adrian said finally, let's talk. He walked toward the house, and there was nothing Lena could do but watch as he stepped into what was very clearly a death trap. We have to help him, she said urgently. We will. Victoria was already moving, circling toward the back of the house. David, take the east side, Lena. You're with me. We go in quiet. We go in fast. When the shooting starts, and it will start, we get Adrian out. Understood? Lena nodded, her mouth dry. This was it. The moment where everything either came together or fell completely apart. They were about to find out which. The back entrance to the Reed estate was unlocked, which told Lena everything she needed to know. Thomas wanted them inside, wanted all the pieces on the board before he made his final move. Victoria moved like someone who'd done this before, gun raised, checking corners with professional efficiency. Lena tried to match her movements, her heart pounding so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. They could hear voices from the study. Adrian's raised in anger, Thomas's calm and measured, Daniel's laugh, sharp and cruel. Victoria pressed against the wall outside the study door, listening. She held up 3 fingers. 3 people inside, maybe more. The math wasn't good. Through a crack in the door, Lena could see Adrian standing in the center of the room, surrounded. Thomas sat in a leather chair like a king on a throne. Daniel leaned against the desk, that movie star smile still in place. 2 other men with guns flanked the exits. You want to know why? Thomas was saying. After everything we've been through together, that's what matters to you? Yes. Adrian's voice was steady despite the guns pointed at him. I want to know why my oldest friend spent 4 years stealing from me. Why he killed my wife. Why he's working with Daniel Cross, of all people. Because you were never going to be enough, Adrian. Thomas stood, moving with the confidence of someone who'd already won. You had ambition once, vision, but after you met Elena, you went soft. Started talking about going legitimate, about walking away from everything we'd built. We built nothing together. I built an empire. You drew up the legal documents. Exactly. Thomas's composure cracked slightly. I did all the work nobody sees, made sure you stayed out of prison, protected your assets, structured everything so perfectly that even when Elena started digging, she couldn't find the full picture. He moved closer. Do you know how exhausting it is? Being the smartest person in the room but never getting credit for it? So this is about ego. This is about taking what I deserve. I've been planning this for 6 years, long before Elena became a problem. Thomas gestured around the study. Every shell company, every offshore account, every carefully structured transaction, that was my design, my vision. You were just the face. And Daniel? What's his role in your vision? Daniel pushed off the desk, still smiling. I'm the future, Adrian. Everything you could have been if you hadn't lost your nerve. He walked a slow circle around Adrian. Thomas approached me 2 years ago, said he needed someone hungry, someone willing to do what you wouldn't. Take the territories you were too squeamish to fight for. Expand the operation beyond your pathetic little comfort zone. You're a puppet, Adrian said flatly. Thomas is using you the same way he used me. No, we're partners, equal partners. But there was uncertainty in Daniel's voice now, a flicker of doubt. Thomas's smile was thin. Of course we are, Daniel. Equal partners. The lie was so obvious even Lena could hear it. Daniel was a useful idiot, nothing more. Once Adrian was dead and the empire transferred, Thomas would eliminate him too. What about Marcus? Adrian asked. David? Victoria? Were they all part of this? Marcus is a coward who I needed for occasional information. David's too loyal to you to be useful, though his incompetence helped tremendously. Thomas poured himself a drink from the crystal decanter. Victoria, though, she's been more problematic, too smart, too observant. She'll need to be dealt with after you. Outside the door, Victoria's expression went cold and dangerous. Elena figured it out, Adrian said. That's why you killed her? She was clever, I'll give her that. Found the secondary books I'd been keeping, realized money was being moved through your businesses without your authorization. Thomas sipped his drink. She called me the night before she died, said she wanted to meet, wanted to give me a chance to explain before she went to you. And you killed her for it. I arranged an accident. There's a difference. Quick, clean, no suffering. Far more merciful than what I could have done. Miss Thomas showed no remorse. None. She trusted me completely. Never saw it coming. Adrian moved then, fast. His fist connected with Thomas's jaw, sending the older man stumbling back. The drink shattered on the floor. The 2 gunmen raised their weapons, but Daniel held up a hand. Wait, let them have their moment. Daniel was enjoying this, the drama of it. Adrian grabbed Thomas by his expensive collar. You killed the only person I ever loved. For money, for ego, for survival. But Thomas didn't struggle. You were going to walk away, Adrian. Going to take your wealth and your guilt and disappear into some legitimate life. What was I supposed to do? Let 30 years of work evaporate because you had a crisis of conscience? You could have come with me. We could have walked away together. I didn't want to walk away. I wanted more, wanted everything. Thomas met his eyes. And now I'll have it. Your businesses, your territories, your reputation, all of it. You'll be remembered as the crime lord who got soft and died for it. I'll be the careful attorney who couldn't save his reckless friend. No one will believe that. Everyone will believe it. I've been building the narrative for months, spreading rumors about your instability, your cancer, your desperate measures. Thomas smiled. Even bringing that waitress into your operation. Perfect evidence of impaired judgment. Adrian's hands tightened. For a moment, Lena thought he might actually strangle Thomas right there. Then the window exploded. David came through in a crash of glass and wood, gun raised, firing before he'd fully landed. One of Thomas's men went down. The other dove for cover. Victoria kicked open the study door and Lena followed, their guns adding to the chaos. Daniel scrambled for cover behind the desk. Thomas twisted out of Adrian's grip and reached for a weapon in his desk drawer. Everything happened in heartbeats. Adrian tackled Thomas before he could reach the gun. They went down hard, Adrian's injured shoulder screaming, but he didn't let go. Years of friendship burning away in seconds of violence. Daniel fired from behind the desk. The shot went wide, shattering a lamp. Victoria returned fire, driving him deeper into cover. David was grappling with the remaining gunman. They crashed into a bookshelf, sending leather-bound books cascading down. Lena stood frozen for half a second. Her training, what little she had, failing her completely. Then instinct kicked in. She moved toward Adrian, covering his back as he fought Thomas. The older man was stronger than he looked. Decades of careful planning hadn't made him soft. He got a hand free, drove his thumb toward Adrian's eye. Adrian jerked back, giving Thomas space to pull a knife from his belt. "Gun!" Lena shouted. Adrian rolled away as Thomas slashed. The blade cut through his shirt, drew blood but not deep. Thomas came up fast, surprisingly agile, the knife moving in practiced patterns. "I taught you how to fight," Thomas said, breathing hard. "You think you can beat me?" "I don't have to beat you, I just have to survive long enough." Adrian backed toward Lena. "Now would be good." She raised her gun, hands shaking, trying to get a clear shot. But Adrian and Thomas were too close, moving too fast. If she fired, she might hit Adrian. Behind them, Victoria had Daniel pinned down, but he was returning fire whenever she paused to reload. David had knocked out his opponent, but more men were coming. Lena could hear footsteps in the hallway, voices shouting. They were about to be overwhelmed. "The desk!" Adrian shouted at her. "Bottom drawer! Flash drive!" Thomas's eyes widened. He lunged for the desk, but Adrian grabbed him, hauled him back. They crashed into the fireplace, struggled among the ashes. Lena ran to the desk, yanked open the bottom drawer. Inside was a small safe, digital lock. She tried random combinations. Nothing worked. "Elena's birthday!" Adrian called out, dodging another knife thrust. "March 17th, 89. The safe clicked open. Inside was a flash drive, several passports with Thomas's photo and different names, and a handgun. Lena grabbed all of it just as more men poured into the study. Victoria swore, diving behind an overturned chair. David retreated toward the window he'd come through. They were trapped. Then Daniel did something unexpected. He stood up from behind the desk, hands raised. "Wait!" His voice cut through the chaos. "Everyone stop!" The new arrivals hesitated, unsure. Daniel looked at Thomas, then at Adrian, and something in his expression had changed. The cocky smile was gone. "Thomas," Daniel said slowly, "when exactly were you planning to kill me?" "Daniel, don't be ridiculous, because Adrian's right. This whole operation you've been playing me, using me." Daniel's hands lowered slowly. "I'm not smart, but I'm not completely stupid. You were always going to eliminate me once Adrian was dead, weren't you?" Thomas tried to compose his face, but the truth was already written there. "You son of a bitch," Daniel said quietly. "I actually trusted you." "Daniel, We can discuss this after. No, we discuss it now. Daniel turned to his men. Lower your weapons. New plan. Sir? One of them said uncertainly. I said lower them. Daniel's voice carried authority now. Real authority, not the performed kind. Adrian, you and I have problems, but at least you've always been honest about what you are. Thomas? He shook his head. You're just a snake wearing a suit. Thomas's composure finally cracked. You're making a mistake. Yeah, probably. Wouldn't be my first. Daniel moved toward the door. But I'm not going to be your murder weapon. You want Adrian dead? Do it yourself. He walked out. His men followed after a moment's hesitation. Just like that, the odds had shifted. Thomas stood there in the ruined study, knife still in hand, facing Adrian and 3 guns. The calculation in his eyes was quick. He couldn't win this. Not directly. This isn't over, he said. Yes, Adrian replied. It is. Thomas moved fast, throwing the knife at Adrian while simultaneously diving for the window David had broken through. The knife missed, barely. Thomas rolled through the shattered frame and disappeared into the grounds. Go! Victoria was already moving. I'll cover the east side. David ran west, cutting off the escape route to the driveway. Adrian sprinted after Thomas, ignoring the blood streaming from his shoulder. Lena hesitated only a second before following. The Reed estate grounds were extensive, manicured lawns giving way to natural forest. Thomas had a head start, but he was older, less practiced at running for his life. Adrian was injured, but motivated by 4 years of rage and grief. Lena pushed herself to keep up, her lungs burning. She could see Thomas ahead, moving through the trees. Adrian was gaining, his longer stride eating up the distance. They reached a clearing where the lawn dropped away to a rocky hillside. Thomas stopped, cornered. He turned to face them, breathing hard. It's over, Thomas, Adrian said. The flash drive has everything. Your accounts, your transactions, proof you killed Elena. Even if you run, everyone will know what you did. Proof I killed her? I don't think so. Thomas was smiling again, confident. That flash drive has financial records, nothing connecting me to Elena's death. You just confessed, in front of witnesses. Your word against mine. And considering your reputation, your illness, your recent instability, Thomas shrugged. I'll take my chances. Adrian raised his gun. Then I'll save the courts the trouble. You won't shoot me. Thomas's voice was certain. You never had the stomach for it. That's why you needed people like David. People who could do what you couldn't. You're wrong. Adrian's hand was steady. I've changed. No. You've just convinced yourself you have. But under everything, you're still that scared kid I met 30 years ago. The one who needed me to protect him. Needed me to... Adrian pulled the trigger. The shot echoed across the hills, sending birds scattering from nearby trees. Thomas stumbled back, his expression one of genuine surprise. He looked down at the blood spreading across his chest. You shot me, he said, almost confused. You actually shot me. Yes. Adrian's voice was empty, hollow. For Elena. Thomas fell to his knees, then to his side. His breathing came in wet gasps. Adrian stood over him, gun still raised, watching him die. Adrian, Lena said quietly. She didn't know what else to say. He killed her. Adrian's hand was shaking now. He killed her and he didn't even care. Just business to him, just numbers and opportunity. Thomas tried to say something, but blood filled his mouth. His eyes fixed on Adrian's face, wide and frightened. For the first time, he looked genuinely afraid. Then he stopped breathing. Adrian lowered the gun slowly. He stood there for a long moment, staring at his oldest friend's body. Then he turned and walked back toward the house without a word. Lena followed, her mind reeling. She'd just watched someone die, watched Adrian kill in cold blood, should have felt horrified, should have felt something. Instead, she just felt tired. Victoria and David met them at the house. Victoria took one look at Adrian's face and understood immediately. Is he dead? She asked. Adrian nodded. Good. Victoria's voice carried no sympathy. He deserved worse. The flash drive, David said. Did you get it? Lena held it up. Everything we need. Financial records, shell companies, years of theft. Enough to prove Thomas was behind everything. What about Daniel? Adrian asked. Gone. took his men, and left. Victoria holstered her gun. He knows better than to come back now. Thomas was his only real connection to your operation. Without that, he's just another wannabe with no real power. He tried to kill me. And he failed. Let it go, Adrian. You've got bigger problems. Victoria gestured at the house. There's a dead body in your attorney's house, along with evidence of significant financial crimes. We need to manage this carefully. I'm not covering it up. Everyone stared at him. What? David said. I'm not covering this up. No more lies, no more shell games. Adrian looked at each of them. I'm going to the police, turning over everything, the flash drive, my testimony, all of it. That's suicide, Victoria said flatly. You'll go to prison, maybe for life. Probably, but it's what Elena would have wanted, what she was trying to do when she died. Adrian pulled out his phone. She wanted me to go legitimate, couldn't do it while she was alive. This is the next best thing. Adrian, think about this. I have. For 4 years I've thought about it, every day. He dialed. This is how it ends. Not with more violence, not with more lies, just truth. Finally. The police arrived within 20 minutes, then more police, then federal agents who'd apparently been building a case against Adrian's organization for months and were delighted to have him volunteer testimony. They separated everyone for questioning. Lena spent 4 hours in an interview room telling her story over and over. The party, the attack, the meetings, Thomas's confession. She left nothing out, even the parts that made her look complicit. When they finally released her, it was dark outside. Claire, Adrian's assistant, was waiting with a car and an envelope. Mr. Voss asked me to give you this, she said. Inside was cash, $40,000, a note in Adrian's handwriting, the rest of what I owe you. Thank you for coming back. A.V. Where is he? Lena asked. Federal detention. He'll be transferred to a holding facility tomorrow pending trial. Claire's expression was professionally neutral. He wanted you to know you're free. No obligations. No expectations. Can I see him? No visitors. Attorney only. Claire handed her a business card. But if you need anything, legal help, protection, money, call this number. Mr. Voss arranged everything before he turned himself in. Lena stared at the card. Adrian had planned this, had known how it would end and prepared for it anyway. Is he going to survive prison? She asked. With the cancer? I don't know. The lawyers are arguing for house arrest on medical grounds, but given the charges, Claire shook her head. It doesn't look good. Sam picked Lena up from the police station at midnight. They drove in silence for 20 minutes before Sam finally spoke. Are you okay? No. Lena leaned her head against the window. But I will be. What happens now? Now? I figure out what to do with $40,000 and a story nobody would believe. You could go back to school, finish your degree, start over somewhere else. Maybe. Lena closed her eyes. Or maybe I do something completely different. Something that matters. 3 months later, Lena stood outside the federal courthouse, watching people stream past. The trial had been quick. Adrian had pled guilty to most charges, accepted a plea deal in exchange for testimony against other members of his organization. 10 years, eligible for parole in 7. With his cancer, he probably wouldn't live that long. But he'd done it. Dismantled his empire piece by piece, testified against everyone from city officials to rival crime bosses. The newspapers called it the biggest organized crime cleanup in decades. They also reported that he'd donated millions to charities, set up trusts for families affected by his operations, tried to make amends in whatever ways he could. Victoria had taken over several legitimate businesses Adrian had owned, restructuring them to actually be legal. David had retired, moved to Montana with his wife. Marcus was in witness protection. Daniel Cross had vanished, rumors placing him everywhere from Mexico to Thailand. Lena had used the money to start something new. A nonprofit helping people in situations like she'd been in, desperate, broke, one bad shift from losing everything. It wasn't glamorous work, didn't pay much, but it mattered. She visited Adrian once, 2 months into his sentence. He looked thinner, older, but somehow lighter, like a weight had been lifted. You didn't have to come, he'd said through the plexiglass barrier. I wanted to. Needed to see you were okay. I'm dying in a federal prison. Definition of not okay. But he'd smiled. How's the nonprofit? Growing. We helped 12 families last month. It's something. It's everything. Adrian had leaned forward. I was wrong about you. That first night at the restaurant, you're not desperate. You're stubborn. There's a difference. You were wrong about you too. You're not empty. Just lost. There's a difference. They talked for the full hour visiting time allowed. About everything and nothing. About Elena and what she would have thought. About second chances and whether anyone really deserved them. When the guard called time, Adrian had pressed his hand against the glass. Lena had matched it from her side. Thank you, he'd said, for coming back, for staying, for being honest when everyone else was lying. Thank you for the opportunity, even if it was insane. Especially because it was insane. He'd smiled. Take care of yourself, Lena Cross. You too, Adrian Voss. That was 4 weeks ago. This morning, Lena had gotten a call from Claire. Adrian had died during the night. Peaceful, the doctor said, in his sleep. His cancer had progressed faster than anyone expected. The funeral was small, just a handful of people who'd known him before everything went wrong. Lena stood at the back, not sure she had the right to grieve someone she'd known for less than 2 weeks total. But she'd known him in a way most people never did, seen him at his worst and his best, watched him choose truth over survival, justice over revenge. After the service, Victoria approached her. He left you something, she said, handing over a small box. Asked me to give it to you if anything happened. Inside was a key and another note. The boat is yours. The title's already transferred. Use it or sell it. Your choice. The name seemed appropriate. AV Second Chance. Lena held the key, feeling its weight. A boat she'd never asked for. A gift from a dying man who'd decided she deserved something good. What will you do with it? Victoria asked. I don't know. Maybe keep it. Go sailing on weekends. Pretend I'm someone who has boats. Lena closed the box. What about you? Keep building what he started. The legitimate version. See if maybe we can prove that people can change. Victoria pulled out a business card. When you get tired of nonprofit work, and you will, everyone does, call me. I could use someone with your skills. What skills? I was a waitress. You see through people's bullshit. That's the most valuable skill in business. Victoria smiled. Think about it. She walked away, leaving Lena alone with her thoughts and a key to a boat she never expected to own. Lena's phone buzzed. Sam, asking if she needed company. She typed back, I'm okay. Home soon. But she didn't go home. Not yet. Instead, she drove to the marina, found Slip 47, stood on the dock staring at the boat that was apparently hers now. The city spread out behind her, full of desperate people and bad choices and moments that changed everything. Somewhere out there, someone was working a job they hated, one shift away from breaking. Someone was making a decision that would define their life. Someone was choosing whether to run or fight back. Lena had been that person, had thrown wine at a crime boss and somehow survived the consequences, had helped take down a decades-old criminal empire, had watched people die and lived to tell about it, had $40,000 in the bank, a boat, and a nonprofit that was actually helping people. Not bad for a burned-out waitress with $47 and nothing left to lose. She stepped onto the boat, felt it rock gently under her weight. The cabin smelled like leather and possibility. On the small table, she found one last note she'd missed before. Adrian's handwriting, slightly shaky from illness or pain. Lena, you asked me once what I saw when I looked in the mirror. For years, I saw nothing, just empty space where a person should be. But watching you refuse to back down, refuse to break, refuse to be less than you were, I started seeing something different. Not redemption exactly. More like proof that even people who've done terrible things can recognize something good when they see it. Thank you for being stubborn, for being brave, for reminding me what it looks like to actually care about something beyond survival. The boat's name isn't just about second chances. It's about the chance to be better than we were, to choose differently. You gave me that chance, even if I couldn't take it as far as I wanted. Now I'm giving it to you. Use it well. Adrian Lena read it twice, then folded it carefully and put it in her pocket. She sat there as the sun set, painting the water gold and red, thinking about choices and consequences, and whether anyone really got the ending they deserved. Adrian hadn't. Elena certainly hadn't. But maybe that was the point. Maybe the ending wasn't what mattered. Maybe it was the moment you decided to stop running. The moment you looked at a powerful man and threw wine in his face. The moment you chose to come back instead of flee. The moment you decided that empty wasn't good enough anymore. Lena pulled out her phone and called Sam. "Change of plans," she said when they answered. "Come to the marina, bring wine. I have a boat now, and a story you won't believe." "You have a what?" "Long story, very long story. Involves crime, murder, and possibly the worst employment decision anyone's ever made." "This I have to hear." "That's what I'm counting on." Lena hung up and looked out at the water. Tomorrow she'd go back to the nonprofit, keep helping people who needed it, keep building something that mattered. But tonight, she'd sit on a boat named Second Chance and tell her friend about the 2 weeks that changed everything. About a crime boss who wasn't completely evil. About an attorney who was. About choosing truth over lies, even when the cost was everything. About surviving when survival shouldn't have been possible. About learning that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is refuse to accept that empty is all you deserve. The city lights came on one by one, reflecting off the water like scattered stars. Lena leaned back and watched them, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Not happiness exactly, not peace, but purpose. Real purpose. The kind that came from knowing you'd stood up when it mattered. That you'd made choices, stupid, reckless, dangerous choices, but they were yours. And somehow, against all odds, you'd survived them. In the distance, she could hear Sam's car pulling into the parking lot. Could hear their footsteps on the dock. In a moment, they'd board this impossible boat, and she'd start explaining. Would probably be explaining for hours, maybe days. But right now, in this quiet moment before the story began again, Lena just sat and breathed and felt grateful to be alive, to have fought and survived and come out the other side as someone stronger. Someone who'd learned that power wasn't about money or control or fear. It was about choosing to stand up even when standing up was the stupidest possible choice. It was about throwing wine at a monster and living to tell the tale. Sam climbed aboard, 2 bottles of wine in hand, questions already forming on their face. Lena smiled and started talking. It was a hell of a story, and for once, every word of it was true.